Hey everyone, it's Mari. Thank you so much for stopping by. I have a project today for the JustNick digital cut file team, and I'm going to be working with the radiating background cut file. I love this one, it's gorgeous. And I cut this fairly large so that it would fit on a 12 by 12 background. I cut it from some American Crafts textured precision cardstock. Now you can see here I've got a bunch of magicals on my desk. I am going to be using a rainbow color scheme here. And I wanted to back the areas, those sort of like pie-shaped areas of that cut file with a rainbow pattern. So what I did was I just penciled off little sort of like pie-shaped sections that would match up with the cut file. And now I'm just going to go in with those magicals and I'm going to create just this watercolor background. And the great thing about the magicals I'm using is they're really shimmery and pretty and shiny, and I love them. So I will leave a link or a list at the bottom in the description box, the colors that I used for of my magicals. But you can just see there every once in a while I'm going to place the cut file back over my project just to make sure that I'm kind of in the right sections here with my different colors. So I'm using kind of like a pinky red, and then I'm going to use an orangey color and a yellow and so on and so forth to create that rainbow effect. I have treated my basil marshmallow cardstock here with some transparent gesso, and just so that the Lindy Stamp Gang magicals don't completely destroy the paper, as I'm putting quite a bit of water on the paper. And I'm just showing you here with my heat tool how I like to let the magicals kind of flow on the paper and dry them as they flow so that they dry in these little pools, and it just makes them look really interesting. I'm going to dab up a little bit of the excess, and then I will be ready to go on to the next section. I think the second section is, I think it's called Cana Lilly Orange. And like I said, I will leave a list of the different magicals, but they don't necessarily all come from the same set, but I did use quite a few from the Prairie Wildflower set. And all of the magicals that I did use today are the shimmering ones, not the flat. So there you can just see, I'm just making sure that I've got my pencil mark in the right section, but for every three sort of like little pie shapes, that is going to be a separate color. So I just take my water, spritz it onto my dry cardstock, and drop in the magicals into that water. So it's like a wet on wet technique, though the color, the pigment, is only going to flow where the paper's wet. So I like to make sure that the color prior to the next color is completely dry so that I don't have the orange running into the red. I did want to keep my colors as separate as possible. So here I am going in with that orange, and I'm just, using my brush to move the pigment around. I'm doing some splatters to make it look a little bit more interesting as well. And of course the splatters are going outside of the circle, which is fine, that's good. It's going to have a very kind of distressed look, and I really like that. I like the effect of that. So once again, just going on there, making sure that I'm keeping these all within the sections that I'm trying to achieve here. And now I'm ready to go in with the yellow. So I'm just going to dab up some of the excess there. I will use my heat tool to dry that up. And I'll show you a little trick here as we go through to flatten your paper out a little bit if you don't like how the moisture makes your paper warp a little bit. It doesn't really bother me, but there is a few tips that you can use to help you with that. This is just a really bright, pretty yellow, and I think this one's called Yellow Rose of Texas. Super pretty, really vibrant, and I loved it. And I am going to be using the Dear Lizzie She's Magic collection for embellishing my project today. And if you're familiar with that collection, it definitely had lots of like rainbow colors in it. So it really goes along well with the color scheme that I'm going for here today. So now I'm going to grab this. This one I think is called Bells of Ireland Green. And what I loved about this one too is it actually has like a mixture of blue and green in it. So if you've never used magicals before, they have different pigments all within one color. So this one is a mixture, like I said, of blue and green. Sometimes like with that Cana Lilly orange one, it's got that one has a little bit of reds mixed in with it. So depending on how much you mix it, you can get those different colors sort of like going in an area if you want to do that. So if I really wanted to have sort of like a mixture of pigments within my sections, I could have put the powder directly on my layout instead of mixing it in that little pot. When you mix it in the little pot, all the colors mix together, so you don't get that separation of color like you would if you put the powders dry directly onto your paper and let them mix with the clear water. At that point, you would just sort of get like a really pretty mixture of colors. So now I'm just drying up that blue, and I believe that blue is the Bachelor Button Blue. So it's really pretty and vibrant as well. I love that. And you know, these colors can be as deep or as light as you want based on how much water you mix with them. So obviously the water is going to make the color less rich and pigmented. It's going to water it down. So now this is the purple, and I don't remember off the top of my head what this one is called, so you'll have to check down below. I have a few different tones of purple in my magical collection. So you can just see here too along that edge where there wasn't gesso, and how that pigment is just like grabbing right onto the tooth of the paper. So that just kind of shows you the difference between using the gesso and not. Now I have sewn through my cut file at this point. I sewed 3 straight lines through the center in 3 different spots, obviously, so that adds a little bit more interest to the cut file. And now I also wanted to add a little bit of interest to it as well by just splattering with the rainbow colors in each of the different sections. So I'm just going to use up some of my leftover pigment here just to splatter on, and that's just going to create a little more detail. So I like how this looks when it's all finished. I'm just about done with my mixed media here. So if you've never tried magicals before, they are really awesome. I love them. They're pretty similar to the Nouveau shimmer powders, or like there's a lot of different products out on the market that are like this, similar to this. But I really like the shimmer of the Lindy's magicals for sure. The flat ones are really pretty too, and you can do some really cool effects with them, but I just happen to really like the shimmer of the shimmering ones. So there is all of the mixed media completed, and now I'm just going to take a little bit of foam adhesive and adhere that to the back of my cut file here and there just to lift it up off of the layout a little bit. You can also see at this point I have backed the whole layout with a piece of pattern paper. That paper is called Pen Pals from the Dear Lizzie She's Magic collection, and I like that paper because it's got a rainbow effect. And what I did to flatten my whole layout out was I sewed around the white background paper. I just sewed around it, the perimeter of it, with my sewing machine, and that actually really flattened my paper out nicely. Now I'm taking a little bit of foam adhesive and I'm adding that to the back of both of my 4x3 photos, which I've printed in black and white here. And I'm just going to mat them on just a really nice light blue cardstock. I think this is like a Stampin' Up cardstock called Ballet Blue perhaps, and I just liked it's nice and light and it complements the blue that's in the layout. And I just am taking my distressing tool and distressing the edges of my photos here. So just do that really quickly, and it just kind of, I think, creates a little bit more interest with my 2 photos. Now my photos are going to be in the center of this cut file. And now I'm just going to create a little bit of an embellishment area to the left of the left photo and to the bottom of both of the photos. And that'll help create a visual triangle with the title that I'm also going to add above the photos. So here you'll just see me adding a few really simple basic little elements. I'm not going to just go totally crazy with embellishing because I feel like there's a lot going on the layout already with that colorful background, and I really want you to really obviously notice the photographs mostly. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of embellishing just to add some detail and interest to the layout. This is a little chipboard piece from She's Magic, this really adorable little camera. And that word surprise is just from, I cut that from that patterned paper from that collection that had like all the words on it. I don't remember what it's called, but I will link up to all of the different products that I've used in the description box below. So just make sure you check it out so that you can find these different products if you would like to. So I am going to just finish up that embellishing, and you'll just see me grabbing a bunch of different things like the cardstock stickers and the chipboard sheet and some of the other things from the collection. I love this collection. I think it's one of my very most favorite of all time Dear Lizzie collections. Loved the colors. I loved the different icons in this collection. I thought they were so sweet, and I'm still using this, and I still have actually lots of it left. So just really wanted to use this today. I thought the rainbow color scheme is great for a masculine layout, and I really liked it for this particular layout. What I'm documenting here is during the pandemic here in March, we decided to give a try to cutting Jordan's hair because, well, you can see on the left that he is looking slightly unkempt. And so it was really driving him crazy. And he said, Mom, can would you mind trying to cut my hair? Well, I did attempt to cut his hair, and it was not really going well. I'll be perfectly honest. And he does have the barber shears or whatever you call them, like the razor thing, and it's got like the guard on it and all that kind of stuff. And so like he said, I think I'm just gonna shave my head. And so he did. I helped him, but then you can see on the right how that went. And let me just tell you, it's been 5 weeks and he has a ton of hair that's grown back already. So it's kind of been an interesting experiment. So my title is going to be, and I'm going to use some Pink Fresh Studio Puffy Alphas here. I'm going to print out Pandemic Cut. I will be moving these Puffy Alphas up a little bit. I got them a little bit too close to my photos because I wanted to spell out another word, cut. So I do end up moving them up, and I am going to use the Dear Lizzie She's Magic iridescent foam alphas. They're the ones that have the pink foam on them. They're gorgeous. I love those things. And I will be using those to spell out the word cut. So the title, Pandemic Cut. I'm also going to use one of the journaling spots from the die cut pack from the ephemera from She's Magic to do my journaling. And that'll just be part of that little cluster below the photographs. And I just did some really simple journaling here. I just wrote out how on March 20th we had cut his hair, and he decided to go for a buzz cut because the actual haircut was not going well. I do not actually have hair cutting scissors. I was probably using craft scissors to cut his hair, but I really felt like I was using the point cut technique that I've seen my hairdresser use, but it didn't have the same effect. I realize at this point what a amazing technician my hairdresser is. Not that I didn't think that before, but once you actually try to cut someone's hair, it's very clear that you can't just pick up a pair of scissors and think that you're going to be able to do a good job of cutting someone else's hair. So kind of funny, really wanted to document this. So I'm just going to show you a close-up here of my project, and there is one still shot at the end. So I just want to remind you to check the links in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and always make sure you go over and check out all of JustNick's amazing cut files. Thanks so much, guys. Have an amazing day, and I hope to see you next time. Stay safe and stay healthy. Bye-bye.